it's hard to believe, really, because when you start off, you don't actually think of going on like this. Particularly when I started, rock and roll was in its infancy, and everybody said we were one-hit wonders, and most of us believed that.
For decades, Cliff Richard stood as a symbol of clean-cut success, musical reinvention, and lasting charm. He survived changing trends, industry backlash, and even outshone rock legends in his prime.
I was really lucky, because I kind of started at the top. I mean, things do tend to change. I don't think it's just in the music industry. It's changed all the facets of show business. Within the musical world, it's changed rather drastically.
But hidden beneath the spotlight was a slow-building story that never made the charts. A truth that lived quietly behind every headline, every hit, every hesitant smile. That story has now come to light. And while it doesn't erase his legacy, it casts a long, painful shadow over it. This isn't just a revelation. It's a reminder that even the brightest careers can carry a cost too heavy to sing about. Reinventing British rock. Cliff Richard's transformation from Harry Roger Webb, a boy born in British India during World War II, into Britain's first true rock star was nothing short of revolutionary. After his family fled post-colonial India and resettled in a modest home in Surrey, the hardships of adapting to post-war England instilled in him a deep desire to prove himself. That drive eventually led him to the stage, where his talent caught the attention of talent manager Harry Greatorex. Realizing Harry Webb didn't sound like a rock icon, Greatorex suggested a new name, Cliff, for strength, and Richard, in tribute to Little Richard. The new identity stuck, and with it, a musical movement was born. On August 29, 1958, Cliff released Move It, a raw, electrifying single that shattered the norms of polite British pop. Just 18 at the time, Cliff wasn't mimicking American rock. He was creating something original. Move It soared to number 2 on the UK charts, and many, including John Lennon, would later credit it as the moment British rock truly began. In fact, Lennon once said, "Before Cliff Richard and Move It, there was nothing worth listening to in England." Cliff had given British teenagers a homegrown rock hero for the first time. His rebellious sound and magnetic stage presence sparked what the press soon dubbed Cliff hysteria. Cliff's initial hits didn't come from just one song. The singer, contrary to his feelings towards the song, recorded Living Doll in 1959. Initially, it was a soft and commercially more popular type of track, which he begrudgingly recorded, but once it was reshaped into a slow, country-type ballad, it struck gold. It became number 1, remained at that spot for 6 weeks, sold more than 770,000 copies, and quickly earned Cliff silver and gold discs. Travelin' Light was another commercial success, and sales continued to break 1 million. Again, quite unprecedented in British music at this time. Cliff had established himself not only as a pop sensation, but also as a chart-topping powerhouse, which was equivalent to Elvis Presley in terms of fan loyalty. Apart from music, Cliff began forging his path in films, thus distancing himself from colleagues. His initial full-fledged role had been given to him in Serious Charge in 1959, a somber drama treating the themes of wrongful accusations and moral crises. He then went on to show his mettle in the realm of satire and social commentary in the 1960s Espresso Bongo. But it was 1963's Summer Holiday that firmly established him as a cross-media star. Before the movie's release, the film's soundtrack had hit number 1, with the title track and a few other songs also making the charts. At a time when British pop stars were hardly crossing over, Cliff claimed to be able to dominate on all letters, one stage at a time. He had paved the way right before Beatlemania hit, proving British rock and entertainment didn't have to follow America's example. But just when the world thought they had Cliff Richard figured out, he made a move no one saw coming. Faith and fame. In June 1966, Cliff Richard made a decision that stunned both fans and the music industry. He publicly declared his Christian faith during an event with American evangelist Billy Graham at Earl's Court in London. Unlike many celebrities who keep spiritual matters private, Cliff made his conversion public, delivering his testimony in front of thousands. The boldness of his announcement was magnified by its timing. The height of the swinging 60s, an era known for rebellion, hedonism, and anti-establishment culture. For a rock star to suddenly speak about God, especially on national television, defied every expectation of what pop idols were supposed to represent. Cliff's faith journey had actually begun 2 years earlier, but his decision to speak out came at significant professional risk. Many in the music business believed this could be the end of his career. Fans were shocked, agents hesitated, and producers worried that he would abandon showbiz for the ministry. For a time, even Cliff himself wasn't sure if he could balance both. He considered leaving the stage altogether, questioning whether he could be a proper Christian while still in the limelight. Music magazines began speculating who would replace him, and bookings slowed as people assumed his best days were behind him. Cliff, however, took a rather bold decision, staying in the world of music and being unapologetically straightforward about his beliefs. It was a new chapter in his life, not as a rebellious, love-struck teen, but as an artist with conviction. With no pretense of having pop appeal, he began including spiritual ideas in his public persona. In that way, he became the first real pop star in the pursuit of faith and fame in the UK. He would later reveal that, before the conversion, all confidence had been a pain in his life. There was great pressure to keep up an image, which took a toll on him, but faith has now allowed him to drop the act and be what he truly is. This has ultimately made his performances even stronger, and his connection with fans. This authenticity factor kept Cliff relevant despite the Beatles and other acts changing the whole music world. While many turned to trend chasing, Cliff stood by his convictions and creative consistency. His music managed to change while always exhibiting warmth, and loyal fans kept turning up. In an era when religion and pop hardly existed in the same sphere, Cliff's sincerity cleared the path for other future artists to speak out about faith without damaging their artistic credentials. His dedication turned his career upside down and redefined the very meaning of being a pop star in the UK. Reinvention and comeback. By the mid-1970s, Cliff Richard's career appeared to be in steep decline. In 1975, for the first time since his debut, he failed to land a single song in the charts. Many believed that his clean-cut image, Christian convictions, and early rock and roll roots had rendered him outdated in an industry now dominated by glam rock, disco, and the early stages of punk. It seemed like Cliff's time had passed. However, just a year later, he stunned critics and fans alike with a dramatic comeback. In April 1976, he released Devil Woman, a hard-edged, darkly mysterious rock song about curses, psychics, and deception. The track hit number 9 in the UK and became his first ever top 10 hit in the US, peaking at number 6. Devil Woman wasn't just a chart success, it was a musical reinvention. The song introduced Cliff to a new generation of listeners and even earned him respect from the hard rock elite. Legends like Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, and Elton John were seen wearing "I'm Nearly Famous" badges, referring to the title of Cliff's comeback album. Released the same year, "I'm Nearly Famous" marked a turning point in his sound and credibility. It earned comparisons to Marvin Gaye's best work and helped Cliff shake off the safe image that had defined his earlier pop persona. He was no longer seen as a relic of the 50s, but as a contemporary, serious artist who could still compete on the global stage. Cliff carried the momentum into the 80s with his Always Guaranteed in 1987. The Alan Tarney-produced outing, which also worked on I'm Nearly Famous, was a modern, slick pop record that was very conscious of and purposely avoided the multi-synth sounds of the time. It was a commercial success, starting at number 5 on the UK albums chart and selling over 1.3 million copies. 4 singles charted in the UK. Top 40, Some People, and My Pretty One. Some People was even certified silver after selling over 250,000 copies. Even at nearly 30 years in the business, Cliff proved he could keep up with the times and still manage to rule the charts. He ended the decade with Mistletoe and Wine in 1988, a Christmas single that became the UK's biggest-selling song of the year. The summer-decked single draped in tinsel over the microphone debuted at number 7, flew to number 1 within a week, and stayed there for 4 straight weeks, all the while selling 750,000 copies in just 6 weeks. It would go on to earn platinum certification and still generate over $100,000 a year in royalties as of 2024. The late career success wasn't just a temporary turn in the road. It marked the beginning of a second act that spelled out the truth of his legend. He could reinvent himself without losing his values. And just when people thought his comeback was complete, Cliff took it even further, turning career survival into something legendary. Legacy sealed. By the late 1980s, Cliff Richard's place in music history was undeniable. In May 1989, he released his 100th single, The Best of Me, a milestone no other British artist had achieved at the time. To mark the occasion, Cliff held a special event at the London Palladium, inviting 2,000 fans to listen to 6 unreleased tracks and vote on which should be the 100th. The selected song peaked at number 2 in the UK and received silver certification, also charting internationally in Ireland, New Zealand, and Australia. This fan-centered celebration wasn't just a marketing stunt. It was a testament to his enduring popularity and the deep connection he maintained with his audience. That same year, Cliff staged the event at Wembley Stadium, a massive concert that celebrated his extraordinary career. The performance was a mix of nostalgia and reinvention. The first half paid tribute to his 1950s beginnings, while the second showcased his recent hits with renewed confidence. The concert was professionally filmed and later released as both a live album and a TV special. With a crowd of thousands and a carefully curated set list spanning 5 decades, the event proved that Cliff wasn't just a legacy act, he was a living archive of British pop history, capable of drawing massive crowds and media attention without leaning solely on past glories. The glories continued even into the 1990s. On June 30, 1990, Cliff appeared in the famous Knebworth Park charity concert alongside the giants of music: Paul McCartney, Elton John, Pink Floyd, Genesis, and Phil Collins. Standing among rock's most iconic names, Cliff strengthened his relevance and versatility. In the same year, his Christmas single Savior's Day topped the charts, displacing Vanilla Ice from the number 1 position. The video was shot in Dorset during warm weather, while the cast members were in winter clothes, a wonderful combination that captured that festive spirit and produced yet another cherished holiday classic. Cliff's artistry has never seen a parallel in terms of cross-generational and cross-genre commercial appeal. Cliff Richard became the only artist in UK history whose number 1 singles stretched over 5 consecutive decades, from the 1950s to the 1990s. By 1990, he had already scored 65 top 10 hits and 14 number 1s in the UK alone. The Greatest Hits album, Private Collection, 1979 to 1988, became multi-platinum with sales of over 1.2 million copies, consolidating his dominance in both catalog sales and the contemporary charts. Then there was We Don't Talk Anymore, with sales approaching 5 million internationally, keeping his voice on the radio somewhere in the world. While the younger generation of artists came and went, Cliff remained a fixture of British music culture, standing as testimony that talent, adaptability, and integrity could withstand the test of time as well as fluctuating trends and prejudices of the music industry. The heartbreak that defined him. Cliff Richard's most personal and enduring heartbreak was tied to one of the closest friendships of his life, his relationship with Olivia Newton-John. Their bond began in 1971 when he invited the young Australian singer to perform on his TV show, It's Cliff Richard. Cliff instantly recognized her as someone special, later describing their connection as immediate and lifelong. What fans never knew until the release of Cliff's 2020 autobiography, The Dreamer, was that he had fallen deeply in love with her. He wrote candidly, "When I, and many of us, were in love with Olivia, she was engaged to someone else. I lost my chance." That someone else was none other than Bruce Welch, Cliff's own bandmate from the Shadows, creating a painfully complicated emotional triangle. Olivia and Bruce Welch had begun their relationship in 1968, and their engagement lasted 5 tumultuous years. Bruce was still married when their affair started, and it became a source of tabloid drama. Cliff, though close to both, never openly acted on his feelings. Still, rumors swirled, particularly after Olivia left Bruce in 1973. Welch spiraled into depression and even attempted self-harm. Though the situation was never publicly addressed, insiders and fans speculated whether Olivia had also developed feelings for Cliff. The silence around the situation only deepened its emotional weight. Despite all this, Cliff and Olivia maintained a warm professional partnership for over 5 decades, recording duets like their 1980 hit Suddenly and performing together at high-profile concerts. It was at Cliff's 75th birthday concert in the Royal Albert Hall in October 2015 that their final duet was held. Once again, the lovers sang the duet Suddenly. That would later acquire even more poignant meaning. For instance, on his orchestral album with strings produced for 2023, Cliff used that live recording as a homage to Olivia. Cliff with Strings, My Kind of Life. Just before she sadly passed away from breast cancer in August 2022, Cliff had one last phone call with her. As always, she had been cheerful and radiant, saying, "Good day, Cliff. How are you, darling?" with her usual warmth. He later wrote that she didn't sound like someone preparing to say goodbye. Those last days left a strong impression on him regarding strength and positivity. Cliff was devastated by Olivia Newton-John's death. "I will not say she died," he says. "She just stopped living." This denotes how deeply he was affected by her loss and how he struggled with the finality of her death. Cliff had never married, although he had been romantically linked with others over the years, and Olivia remained the woman who left the most indelible impression on his heart. Their link of close friends would only add layers to the heartache he had hidden for decades. In many ways, Cliff's lifelong bachelorhood and private sadness could be seen as a reflection of a man who dedicated his life to music and his faith and silently bore the cross of unfulfilled love. His deepest sorrow had remained hidden until the world came knocking in the worst way. The 2014 raid and media scandal. On August 14, 2014, Cliff Richard's life changed forever when a police raid on his Berkshire home was broadcast live by the BBC. The footage, complete with aerial shots from a helicopter, was the result of a secret arrangement between South Yorkshire Police and the broadcaster, who internally dubbed the moment the money shot. Cliff was in Portugal at the time, relaxing in his home when he saw the live coverage. He was horrified. His private property was being searched without charges, and the scene was being broadcast worldwide. His first reaction was disbelief, later describing the police as looking like burglars as they rifled through his belongings. The investigation stemmed from a single allegation by a man in his 40s who claimed Cliff had assaulted him during a 1985 Billy Graham rally at Bramall Lane Stadium in Sheffield, an event attended by over 200,000 people across 5 nights. But the allegation quickly began to unravel. The man described a room filled with sports equipment where the alleged assault occurred. But that room did not exist in 1985. Even more troubling, police failed to interview officers who had been assigned to guard Cliff during the rally, despite their constant presence at his side. The investigation dragged on for nearly 2 years, cost UK taxpayers over £800,000, and ultimately resulted in 0 charges. Such was the burden that Cliff had to carry emotionally and physically that he came down with shingles, lost weight, and fell into depression. He described it later, in the time it took him to recover, as feeling that his home had been contaminated and for a while he would sleep at some other places. However, it went on to state that the informed quote from the Crown Prosecution Service cited insufficient evidence to proceed. Cliff publicly objected to the phrase, insisting no evidence at all. Thus, the cloud of suspicion remained over him, even after being cleared of legal challenges. Compounding matters was that a man fell into Cliff's character with an attempt at a leverage-based blackmail on the night raid. Money. Further lies. The blackmailer was arrested, yet the claim went on record as a credible accusation during investigations. At last, he defeated the BBC in a court of law in 2018. He was with a High Court judge, later ruling that the broadcaster had abused his privacy in a mere mortifying and sensationalist way. The BBC was ordered to pay damages of £210,000, which later escalated to almost £2 million, including legal fees. This was accompanied by a public apology from the South Yorkshire Police and £400,000 in damages. But the harm done to his reputation could not be undone, admitted the victor. The breakdown in court was when he recalled all that trauma, the media stalking, and the incredible fear that the world will always be wondering if the allegations were true. This raid and its revolting aftermath were not merely a breach of privacy, but clearly a savage dismemberment of a legacy of almost 4 decades. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you or gave you a new perspective, give it a like and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories and music legends revealed. And if you're ready for more, click on the next video showing on your screen now. There's a lot more to uncover.